I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Clayton Durant, CEO of CAD Management, to discuss the state of entertainment and quarantine culture. Clay, it's great to have you with us. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you so much for having me.
When do you expect live events to come back on?
So in terms of the way that we are looking at live events, I think we kind of have to take a step back and really see where it was in Q1 of 2020, pretty much before the pandemic hit the United States. Um, Obviously, the event business was doing very, very well. It actually set record numbers in Q1 of 2020, with the top 100 tours actually grossing about $840 million in gross revenue, driven by about a 4.5% increase in total ticket sales. This was actually in line with what PwC estimated that the live event business was going to be doing by 2022, with about a 3.3% compound annual growth rate drive in terms of the level of its growth. So in terms of March, everything absolutely just shut down at once. From concerts to Broadway to private events, revenue just really dropped off a cliff. Now we're in an environment where the live and event business has actually lost about $9 billion in revenue. So the question that our clients and the industry in general is asking is, where do events go from here? They really need to not only invest in new models such as hybrid events that tap into streaming to bring shows and entertainment to the comfort of consumers' home, but the physical event itself really has a few hurdles to jump, including number one, controlling the cost of actual events. Historically speaking, concerts and live events were more expensive than they ever have been in history. This is for a few different reasons. The cost of overhead for live events really came from the cost of the actual talent being able to demand higher upfront fees. The actual cost of building these really extravagant live events has just become more costly over time. And now you're entering a kind of rebound area where live events are also going to have to add costs of increasing health and safety protocols within venues and really adding a new level of liability insurance to cover potential lawsuits revolving around COVID-19. So they really have to control these costs to really keep the price of ticketing at a point where people who are, trying to make it past the recession can actually go and afford these tickets. Secondly, they have to really build models and protocols to control the actual spread of germs in venues. From our particular standpoint, we know that venues and promoters feel like they're going to be held to a much higher level of safety just because of the nature of the way live events are. People are very close together, they're breathing on each other, they're screaming on each other. So that level of safety and health is just going to be even much higher than, let's say, it maybe would in, let's say, a restaurant. So when you go through all of those different areas, we do see that there is a demand to actually go back into live events. A report from Live Nation actually noted that 86% of their ticket holders had opted into holding their existing tickets instead of actually looking for a refund. Moreover, Live Nation actually submitted another study that found that 79% of music fans are expected to go back to live events within 4 months of the government restrictions being lifted. So the way we look at it, there's an absolute clear demand to go back to live events, to experience Broadway, to experience live concerts. But they really have to go through a lot of hoops and hurdles. But if they can get all of those check boxes checked and ready to go, we see a very sharp V-shaped recovery happening, likely by Q3 of 2021.
Right, well, Clay, there's a couple things to look at here. So the obvious question is, will live streaming still have a place once we return to a more normal environment, or will they coexist together in some sort of hybrid way? Because one thing that you brought up, and cost is certainly it, virtual democratizes access to sports and entertainers, and consumers may continue to demand that because there's a couple of things at work here. It's expensive because consumers want that experience, so they have to expect cost. Entertainers might have to think, okay, well, do I care that much about my fans, or I'm not going to demand so many fees up front to provide that experience. I mean, so I think it's going to live together in some hybrid way. It's going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely believe that the future of live events will be a hybrid model that takes live and digital and merges them in a way to create what we think an essentially limitless cap for venues and event promoters. So the first example that we actually looked at that got us really excited about this space was the Travis Scott and Fortnite partnership, in which the virtual concert experience drew over 12.3 million concurrent viewers at once within one digital ecosystem. Now, there is no stadium or concert space in the United States that can actually hold 12.3 million people. We think that this type of digital model needs to be integrated into every physical live event so that the promoter is not limited to the actual physical cap of a space anymore. Now, on the other hand, we're not saying that live streaming is going to take the place of physical events. That is very, very clear. That's clear in the research that we've seen coming from Live Nation, our own experiences with clients, and just being a fan ourselves, right? People still want to go to live events and experience that. But there are ways to bring this content into the consumer's home. We think that if they can move a lot of this content into the consumer's home, adding different features and opportunities for fans and event creators to actually talk to talent and add a different level of opportunity to make the event worth the maybe $20 to $30 ticket price, that there definitely is a market for that. And Live Nation is definitely on the cutting edge of this, having already tested this at scale.
Who comes out the biggest winner on the other side of COVID-19 then?
I think right now the biggest winner on the other side of COVID-19 is definitely going to be the gaming space. We are seeing massive growth in the number one, the users of games and people actually buying into the gaming ecosystem as a whole. Prior to the pandemic, there were about 5 billion plus gamers across the world. In the United States alone, there are about 300 million active gamers when you think about the people who are using consoles to the people who are actually playing games on their mobile phones and all these different areas where you can play games. Now, gaming is in a really unique space because there isn't as much competition in the marketplace in terms of entertainment, right? There's not as many movies coming out. Sports is limited in nature right now. Which just opens up a huge gateway for gaming to really be that kind of connection point, which is why I think you're seeing a lot of the major gaming companies who are public, their stock price has done tremendous since
Wait, Clay,
March.
let me stop you 1 second. You said 300 million Americans are gamers. That's virtually like almost the entire population. I'm not a gamer, so
Yeah, it's actually about. I think it's about 90+% of the population in America is a gamer at some capacity, whether it's on the console,
Candy Crush on your phone.
yeah, whether it's Candy Crush, Facebook, any of these type of games, just kind of bring into the gaming ecosystem. But look, I mean, we see it as a huge opportunity for brands and for events to really tap into this growth.
Mm-hmm. So to wrap up here, we have a minute to go. Where does CAD management fit into the entertainment ecosystem? What kind of clients do you have and support?
So we act as consultants to brands and content creators, and essentially we help them figure out the best way to distribute, market, and monetize their content at scale. Now, there's no doubt that our model has changed since COVID, and our focus has really been on the digital transformation process, particularly as it pertains to the live event business, and helping them build monetizable models that can actually help close the gap of the revenue that they've lost since March. So that's really where we fit in the middle. We're trying to connect all the different pieces to create the models of tomorrow that can allow these hybrid events and pieces of content to actually exist in a post-COVID world.
All right, Clay, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.